Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. We are buzzing as always, coming in hot. Well, actually coming in cold from Toronto. It's colder than Rick here today. We're doing our best. It's tough being back. There's such a good Rip and Buenos. Guys, by the time this episode airs, it will be either the day before, it'll be Christmas Eve, Christmas, or Boxing Day. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate. I know I'm pumped to spend some time with the fam, and Christmas is one of the goatiest holidays of the year. And hope you guys have a great Christmas. Round two, coming back on the pod. Round one was an absolute banger. This time, we got a new biz, new story. Can't wait to get into it. Austin King coming back on the show today, founder of Nomina, Harvard-trained computer scientist, proven entrepreneur with a record of building and scaling high-impact ventures. Sold his first company to Ripple. Last time we did a deep dive into Ripple. I was sort of chirping him about Ripple. He came back at me and sort of went at me a little bit, and I love that. He also co-authored a new payment protocol with CTO David Schwartz and led its go-to-market strategy. Today, he draws on his combined expertise in engineering and biz dev to drive growth and innovation in the next gen of financial infra. And now he's back with Nomina. Austin, welcome to the show, my friend. Pumped to have you on for round two. How you doing this lovely morning?
Good. Thanks for having me back, man. This should be fun. Maybe we'll spar over Ripple. Maybe not. We'll see where this goes.
Okay, let's start off with Ripple. Ripple, I mean, just for the folks who missed round one, I do shit on XRP a good amount, just because like literally I think you're, and you know I have tons of respect for you, but you are literally one of two guests I believe who's ever been on the show for over 500 episodes who's actually done something within the Ripple ecosystem. And then of course all my normie friends, Austin, like, you know, I have a couple of Christmas parties coming up in Toronto. They're going to be like, Z, should I invest in XRP? And I always say, no, I don't know. I know Austin and one other dude who's ever built in it. I don't know anyone else. So I always say no. And then I keep getting wrecked because the price keeps going up because it's one of the best cults in all of crypto. I'll throw the ball back over to your court. Are you still long Ripple? You still think Ripple has the sauce? And when people ask you about Ripple, do you still give them the green light, or are you now like, nah, don't invest?
I mean, anytime people ask me, should I invest in any crypto? I say no. Like if you're not deep enough that you're making those decisions for yourself, probably not. Like, yeah. I don't know, go buy the S&P 500. So yeah. I say that about any crypto anytime people ask, because I've at this point, you know, it's been like 8 years that I've been in the industry, and I used to be like, oh yeah, I'm on a good one right now. Like, here's the alpha. And then they come back 6 months later and they're like, dude, I lost money. Come on.
I got
like,
wrecked. Yeah.
So it's also a bit of like self-preservation that I just tell people to not invest in crypto at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think their strategy is just so different from like the way that you described it. Is like, of all the hundreds of people you've talked to, you've only talked to 2 people that are doing stuff in the Ripple ecosystem. And they never really tried to build a developer ecosystem. That really wasn't the like point of the platform. They've always tried to be like trad. And I think they're leaning into that more with this like acquisition spree.
Yeah.
I don't think they're ever really going to try to turn it into like a platform that other people are building DeFi protocols on. I don't think they care about that, honestly.
Okay. I like that. And the pitch is, do you align with all the pitch of all the normies with like it's the way to unbake yourselves? They're going to replace the traditional banking system. It's the new Swift. Like, 'cause that's what I get all the time. You know, they watch some YouTube video or some TikTok or some Instagram reel, and they're like, Z, I gotta invest in Ripple. It's gonna replace the banking system. And I'm just like, probably not. But but I gotta give it to the Ripple community and the Ripple cult. Like, the sauce they have on social is insane. Like, after Bitcoin, it's probably number 2, realistically speaking.
Yeah. Honestly, if I'm like analyzing the bull case, I think the strongest bull case is that, yeah, outside of Bitcoin, maybe it's probably the strongest cult in all of crypto. Like, people very deeply believe in Ripple to a degree that like you just don't see with other projects. And it's both in terms of like depth of belief and the scale of how many people are in the XRP community. Like they self-identify as the XRP army, you know, like they really believe in it. And I like that. So that's kind of analyzing it from one step removed. And with any crypto project, that's a really important thing to look at. Like, how strong is the community behind it?
Yeah, well said there. Okay, let's talk about the pivot. Give me the whole TLDR. Walk me through like why the need. I mean, you guys are giving people advanced trading strategies, pre-built tools, awesome AAA grade trading tools that the average Joe like myself couldn't have access to for Perp DEXs. Perp DEXs are absolutely blowing up. I mean, I would say it's mostly good, but some bad if you don't know how to use them. I also never ever, I always tell my friends when they want to get into to leverage trading, pretend this is literally burning money. Pretend you're going to a campfire and you're just lighting it on fire. And it's the first couple times you learn how to build a fire, right? You got to know how to, that's literally what it is. Because if the first couple times you use it, unless you get very lucky, you're going to get absolutely wrecked. So I always tell them, if you want to bet $1,000, make, 10 different $100 bets and get ready to lose all of them, and watch the positions, see how the funding rate moves, watch it all, study it, but you are going to get wrecked. So with that being said, you're making this a lot easier for people. Walk me through the pivot. Why did you change everything over to Nomina?
Yeah, I guess before talking about the rationale of why we made the pivot in the first place, I think you touched on a really interesting point, that actually the reason we launched this first strategy on Nomina. So like, we do want this to become like a wider platform where you can run a lot of strategies, but we started out building this very specific one, and it's funding rate arbitrage. And it's like, okay, that's kind of like weird, but like, why did we start with that one? It's because I was talking with, I've had, at this point, probably 150, maybe 200 calls with traders. And we saw this pattern kept coming up where everybody understood that it's a campfire, that, if they come and, they're excited about these new perp DEXs, but they understand they're extremely risky. And so the strategy that we actually help people launch is delta neutral. So even if the market goes up or down, that's not how you're making money. You're making money arbitraging the funding rates. And so, yeah, like, you are using perps, you can use leverage with it, but it's not the type of thing where you're coming in doing like a YOLO 20x long on something and hoping it works out for you. So that was kind of an interesting thing where these powerful exchanges are springing up. But then we found this cohort of people that were like, hey, I get it. I know I'm not a great trader, but I do want to participate in this like wave that's happening. And so I'm interested in trading strategies that I'm not going to get blown out if Bitcoin moves 2% in one direction or another.
Well said. Going delta neutral, this is something, and you can definitely explain this better than me, but funny enough, this is probably one of the most common inbound text, email, DMs, mostly text from friends that I've gotten. Again, I don't want to say normies, but like the guys who reach out to me for some crypto advice. They're like, oh, I watched this video, or I have a buddy who's doing delta neutral arb. He's making 15, 20 ticks, blah, blah, blah. And then I explain it to them. Sometimes it's a little difficult. Explaining the hedging of both sides is easy, but actually explaining them how to do it is not easy. If someone says, Austin, what is going delta neutral and how can I do this? How do you sort of explain that to them?
Yeah, so being delta neutral just means that the amount of exposure you have if the market goes up on some asset is equivalent to the amount of exposure you have to if the market goes down on that asset. And sometimes you can do it across assets. It's a little more complicated, so we'll just keep it to the simple case here. But basically, you open up two positions, and if Bitcoin goes up $1, you're going to gain $1 on one, and you're going to lose $1 on another. And so you're not actually gaining or losing money. So it's like, okay, if you're not actually, like, if nothing happens, what's the point of doing this? The point of doing this is you're arbitraging a kind of like in the weeds mechanic of how these derivatives work. So if you have $1 of long exposure on one exchange, you might have to pay, 15% APR in order to hold that. But if you are shorting it on a different exchange, you might get paid 30% APR to hold that position. And so if the market moves, nothing's really happening to your direct exposure, but you're getting paid 15% APR to hold that position. And that's actually like a pretty low APR. It's not uncommon that there will be triple digit APRs on our platform. And there's a lot of nuance with this and stuff, but the APRs are extremely high just because this ecosystem is so new and growing so quickly that a lot of market inefficiencies spring up. And that's what our users are capitalizing on.
I love that. So going delta neutral, sort of funding rate are sort of number 1 and 2. Mind you, those are very intertwined and connected. What other tools, what other awesome little things are you giving the folks? That's also, what do they want? What are they asking for? You said you got on about 200 calls with traders. What else do they want?
Yeah. So now I'll swing back to the like why we pivoted conversation, because I think this is a good point. So it was probably at this point 8 months ago that we had like a pretty clear realization that the crypto market, as it was, like, what happened was Hyperliquid showed that the like emperor had no clothes.
Yeah.
It just very clearly proved that you all have been told a story this whole time that,
Yeah.
oh, this is different than regular finance or businesses. They don't need to make money. And we got like told all these stories about like, oh no, it's a platform. So that's what matters, not the fact that it makes $10 a day. And then Hyperliquid showed up and started making an incredible amount of money as one of these networks.
Yeah.
And then to really kind of like double down on that, it started using all that revenue to buy back the token. And it just became irrational to buy any other altcoin than Hype. And so when this started happening, I think there's a number, like there's one, them proving that this was possible. Two, kind of looking around the edges, seeing that there are other types of networks and businesses that you could build that could create a lot of revenue. And then three, the tailwinds behind like Trump becoming president and like identifying as the like crypto president, and him, he's done some like dumb stuff, like launch a meme coin that frankly extracted a lot of capital from the space. But at the same time, like he has passed regulation that has been, in my opinion, like a decade overdue and has really
Yeah.
choked the industry. And
Agreed.
so we saw all of that happening. And at the time as well, we were selling developer tools that effectively made it so people didn't have to think about bridging. And so this is something that's just like clunky in the user experience today. If you want to use an app, it's like, oh, it's on Polygon and my money's on Arbitrum, and you got to go to a third-party website, move your capital around.
Nightmare. It's a nightmare.
It's a mess. And we're like, this is absurd. Like, we are never going to scale the crypto industry. If it's like, if every time you wanted to open a website, you would realize that it's on Google Cloud and not Amazon Web Services. So you had to go to your Amazon Web Services account and like migrate some credits over to Google. Like it's
Great
a
analogy.
mess.
Yeah.
And so we built tools for this, but the like realization, honestly, was that we just didn't hit product market fit because people didn't care as much. The main thing that a majority of these projects were trying to do was sell a story. I don't think, I think there's maybe like 5% of companies in the industry that have product market fit. And so if 95% of your addressable market is also kind of like hopping and maybe even cares more about selling a story than selling a real product, it's just not a sustainable way to build a business. So
Well said.
we built this out. Honestly, it was pretty clean. It provided the experience pretty well. We got some customers on it, but it just pretty clearly didn't have product market fit. And, with kind of what I said about Hyperliquid, it became clear to us that if we do not find product market fit, we will die. And this was before the market started crashing, but we were like, every altcoin is going to get eviscerated over the next year here. Like that's going to happen. And the only ones that will come back from it are the ones that have rational business models behind them. So honestly, that's the reason for the pivot.
Okay, so you saw Hyperliquid. I mean, obviously we've had Lighter, we've had a bunch of other Perp DEXs. I'm biased. I love Hyperliquid more than the others. I still think it's the best platform. They still make the most money. I personally think everyone's farming airdrops right now. That's just my 2 cents. We won't get deep in the weeds on that.
They definitely are. Yeah.
It's true. However, when it comes to the Perp DEXs as a whole, you saw that, you and the team saw that as, okay, this is the future. These guys are printing money hand over fist. There's clearly PMF. People love Perp DEXs. They're clean. They're easy to use. And it has a very good use case. Also, with the rise of surveillance, so on and so forth, people want to get their money off the larger centralized exchanges. They want to go the route of Hyperliquid and other Perp DEXs. These guys are printing money, and we're going to join this arena and make really good tools for people to make them and help them print more money on these money printer machines. Was that sort of how it went down?
I mean, honestly, it was a little more lame than that. We kind of went back to the fundamentals, and for years I've been like annoyed with Y Combinator level advice of like build something people love.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's what you need to do as a business.
Yeah.
You need to build something that people are fanatic about. And in order to build something like that, I think this is one thing that so many companies in the space get wrong, is they try to do like, we're like the everything platform for X, and they try to do so much.
One at a time.
Yeah. And so instead what we did is like, okay, the global financial system is going to move on chain. Right now, one area that is seeing a ton of activity is these Perp DEXs. Maybe in a year, it'll be prediction markets. And, this was a while ago. So at this point, that's probably what's going to happen, where we like expand into prediction markets next. That'll still be time though. Like that's a while off because we're extremely focused on this one opportunity. But the thing was like, hey, if we're going to build like a Bloomberg for the on-chain economy, it's going to take time for these securities to move on chain. It's going to take time for it to actually mature. how do we just make sure that we're well positioned as the platform to be like the Bloomberg of the on-chain economy by the time that it gets really serious with these like more high quality financial assets on chain. So we just started talking with so many different traders. Like my goal each week was like 10 calls with people. And in the beginning, it kind of was like, it didn't feel like we were making a lot of progress because you're kind of flying a little blind. You don't know
Yeah.
exactly which opportunities are like big or not. But eventually you start to see like recurring pain points come up. And then you start to see the ones that like really suck, that people are really annoyed with. So with funding rate arbitrage, for example, what people would do, I had so many calls where eventually I like saw that this is something that people were spending a lot of time and energy on. And what they were doing is they would have 4 windows open at the same time. They would have Exchange 1, Exchange 2, they would have a data analytics website, and then they would have an Excel spreadsheet.
Come on.
And they were literally clicking. Yeah, dude, like a lot of people were doing this.
Wow.
And so what I did is I would like learn about this workflow deeply. And then it got to a point where we could actually design it. Like, what would it look like if that was one website where, you know, it has the accounting, it has the data analytics, and it has the execution for each exchange. And that's effectively what Nomina has become today. But it's, you know, we hyper double clicked into this one kind of random, obscure strategy.
Yeah.
But I like, this is the most signal we've ever seen in our 4.5-year history that we're building something that has the potential to hit product market fit.
That's incredible. I love that. I love those stories. Like you guys were, I don't want to say getting hammered because probably not the case, but things were tough in the bridge game. I mean, it's also like if you're North Korea or Russia, and I always apologize to the North Koreans and Russians because there's 99% of them are 99.9% of them are good people. They just have really good hackers. But if you're in Lazarus group, like you're going after the bridge. It's the easiest place. Like you guys were working in a candidly shitty arena that, like you said, people just don't really care about. It's needed. I love your AWS Google Cloud analogy. I've never heard that. That's incredible. But I mean, geez Louise, we're what, 15 years into the crypto game now, and we still haven't figured this shit out. Like it's got to be like going on the internet, you know? Where the only choice you make is, are you using Chrome? Are you using, you know, Brave? Whatever. That should be the only choice. Otherwise, it all runs the same. It's tough.
I actually think that's the way you just described it, or using Chrome or Brave, is a great way to communicate the evolution from Omni to Nomina, because, you know, we're working on Nomina right now, but it still lets you work across these platforms.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, I don't know, the browser of the on-chain economy. That's what we would love for it to become, where you can just access any of these financial markets, see data on any of them, and you don't need to deal with dumb stuff like bridging, because we can just completely make that super easy through our own UX. Like, so we took all the experience from Omni, and we're like, we know how to make this a fantastic user experience. Let's try to build a killer app that people genuinely love, that hits product market fit, that we can scale as a business, and we can take our learnings from what we worked on with Omni to just make it so that people can access markets across all these chains. And so that is like going to show more in the like design of how we build Nomina. But it's not the key thing, because that wasn't like, nobody's going out of their way sprinting around trying to be like, I hate bridging so much. How do I solve this? So it's more like you got to launch something, and then you can just make the bridging not a problem within it.
Yeah, well said. Okay. Quick shout out to Prime XBT. When we get back, we're going to keep buzzing here. Huge shout out to Prime XBT, longtime friends and longtime sponsors of the Crypto News podcast. We love the team at Prime XBT as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. Doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. Use the promo code CryptoNews50, that's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with Austin. Okay. What other features? I know we sort of touched on this, but is there anything else that you think or know that the users really want? One in particular, and I know this is very lazy of me to bring up. We've had a couple different teams on the pod who are working on this, but I still think it will be very fun when an AI financial advisor / manager is available there. You have them. A lot of work needs to be done, but where I can be like, here are my risk parameters. Here are the ecosystems I want you to move and groove in. Go print me some money. Ciao. Boom. Is that on the docket at all?
It's something that has been interesting, but nothing more than kind of like internal demos, playing around with things because, and I
Gotcha.
think this shows in a lot of I don't know if you've seen these trading competitions that have happened
I have,
recently.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like the AIs are just getting wrecked out there. And so the AIs will get to a
Destroyed.
point where they are excellent financial advisors, but currently they're just not there. And then on top of that, I think for a company at our stage, the problem with the way that some people try to use AI is that it's almost like they're not thinking deeply enough about the user's needs. So, if we were people, we show people a terminal with a bunch of different opportunities and we show data analytics on those opportunities. And if we just said, hey, here's an AI, ask it questions, it's almost like we didn't do the diligence to understand which data is most relevant in
Yeah.
identifying
Well
these
said.
opportunities. So we actually, through like a more mundane solution, like historical volatility charts of the funding rate spread. Like that is something that's like kind of mundane, but it's extremely specific and relevant to people deciding if they want to enter these positions or not. So maybe we'll do some AI stuff down the line, especially like I'm extremely bullish them becoming just astoundingly competent,
Yeah.
but it's still earlier right now. And we use them a lot. Like often if I get user feedback, I'll just like spin up Claude Code as I'm doing something else and I'll like patch it and just open PR. Like we
That's so
do use
cool.
them a lot internally,
Yeah.
but we'll see where it ends up actually in the like product experience down the line.
I love that. Quick side note here, just thinking about financial advisors as a whole. The boomers, I get why they want financial advisors. They didn't grow up, with computers like us, and I don't feel like they spend as much time glued to stocks and crypto like we do. But can you imagine the next 10 years financial advisors still being a job? I personally can't see a world where that's going to happen. Like,
It's been interesting, like talking with just like various, like my parents, their friends and stuff, even my hometown friends who are my age. And I just like know the unit economics of the kind of like financial advisor, wealth management space. And it's extractive. Maybe
it's
that's
so
oversimplifying it, but it's kind of insane that,
it's not kind of insane. It's
yeah,
batshit crazy. Why am
yeah,
I giving you X amount of ticks when I could literally hammer the S&P and outperform you every year?
exactly. Yeah. And I'm like talking to my mom, like you're paying them how much on the principal each year? Not like it doesn't even matter how it performs. You're just paying them like, mom, like, God, okay. Like, yeah, it
It's
is
tough.
nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, but the thing is, I think a lot of these people, like thinking about people from my hometown and just like, I think they find to us, we're so deep in finance and just all the mechanics of this that we can talk about derivatives and even the nuances of derivatives like funding rate arbitrage. But I think to a lot of people, it's just a whole other world. And there's value in, or they find value in somebody saying, you're safe here. And that's really what they're paying for.
I know. You're right. You're probably right. I forget that one quote where it's like something insurance based where it's, you always want to be able to blame someone, again, I'm butchering the quote, but it's something along the lines of like, it's better to be able to point the finger at someone for something you care about. Something like that. I'm butchering it to all hell. And again, to fortify your point, that's what they want, where it's like, on a good year, they can be like, hey, I was smart enough to pick this guy or girl to manage my money. And on a bad year, you're like, it's Austin's fault.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, but at the end of the day, it's not like they're actually providing you insurance other than like psychological insurance.
That's
So if
it.
the
Yeah.
markets are down, they don't care. They're taking it
Yeah.
on the principal.
Yeah.
Like doesn't really matter to them.
Yeah. And for me, one of the biggest things is the loss of multi-baggers as well. Like, it's also crazy when you're paying someone to put it in a fund. Like, why would you pay someone to have 50% of your money in the S&P? That's wild. But also, how many of these financial advisors miss the big multi-baggers, the Nvidias, the Bitcoins, the Solanas a couple of years ago, the hype, whatever the case may be. But it's like those multi-baggers really add up in your portfolio. And they're not taking high risk,
Yeah, definitely not.
Pretty wild stuff here. Anything else on Nomina that you'd like to jump into? I'd love to just hammer, last sort of 5, 6, 7 minutes of the show, overall crypto market, if there's nothing else you want to talk about Nomina wise.
Yeah, I think a nice segue is just I think altcoin markets are going to get absolutely eviscerated over the
Yeah.
next 18 months here. They already are heavily, but I think any project that does not migrate from this, oh, our community is so strong and like our ecosystem, everybody's building apps on our chain, that is futile in my view. And maybe I'm wrong. I think a lot of people would disagree with me right now. I think a lot of people that are building all L1s are pretty heavily grabbing on to this whole like strategy that they have put themselves in, and it's going to be really hard to pivot. But I think anything that is not making money in 18 months is going to zero.
I completely agree. It's funny. This is on my end of year to-do list. I literally have a thing on my sort of end of year Notion doc to-do list, and it's literally hammer all altcoins. And I'm going to, I might even use Nomina, but I'm literally going to look at all the Perp DEXs. I'm going to see which one provides the best funding rates, because I feel like they're all going to charge me more to go short than long, as I feel like this honestly is relative consensus right now, but I'm hammering all of them, and it's just going to depend on it. Is it 2x or is it 10x leverage? A couple of them might get 20x, but we'll see. We'll see. Market as a whole, I love that take. I agree with you on that take. I don't want to get into price predictions. Again, we are recording a week before Christmas. This episode is going to air, give or take, around Christmas. Are we hooped? Are we entering a bear market? Has the bear market sort of already happened? Are we going to see things turn around? Hopefully we got another cut coming up. What's your sort of 2 cents TLDR on current market sentiment in crypto? And you can even tie in stocks as well if you'd like.
Yeah, I think things are looking good, honestly. If you don't stare at the prices of altcoins, what's happening, in my view, is the industry is getting more rational. And this has been long overdue. The industry has been absurd and very like musical chairs oriented and just gambling oriented for so long. And I think what's happening is more sophisticated investors are coming in, and they can look at something like Hyperliquid and say, this one makes sense. These do not. And I think overall investor sentiment is just kind of moving more towards that. Like, does this make sense? Or is this just some like marketing fugazi thing that's going on? And so I don't even know if I would call it a bear market as much as just a washing out of lower quality projects. And within that, I talk with a lot of different founders. Really any founder right now who has a token is getting absolutely slammed. Like, unless you're Hyperliquid. This applies even to top 50.
Hype's getting slammed too.
Yeah, even Hype is getting slammed. And so it's interesting really seeing a split between founders that I talk to. Some have kind of internalized and like understand the game that is afoot. They're like, okay, the rules are changing. It's no longer about like building a huge ecosystem and like getting all these forks to deploy on your platform. And they understand, and they're kind of like taking it in stride. Other people, I think it's so bad that they're just checking out. I think they're just like
100%.
Holy, yeah. Like I think they're just completely slapped in the face right now and don't even know how to go about moving forward as a business. And so, I mean, honestly though, this is good. People that
I agree
don't understand that the things need to make sense, then the market will weed those out over time.
I completely agree. It's gonna be an interesting a little bit. I still think, I don't know why, but I still have a feeling that some geopolitical event's gonna happen, whether it's surveillance related, whether it's I don't know. Sometimes the gut speaks, and I have this weird feeling that I don't think it's gonna. I don't know if it's Q1. I feel like it's gonna be Q2, Q3, but I do feel like we're gonna have a parabolic run up at some point. And I do agree with you. I think Hype's gonna do very well. I think Bitcoin's gonna do well. I don't even know if ETH or Solana will get back to those levels without the multi-billion dollars in DATs or DAT spending on that asset. But I feel like, the hypes that print money, which there's really only one hype. I feel like Bitcoin, maybe a couple of the privacy coins, I feel like there will be a pretty crazy run up. I also feel like this sort of exodus of capital from crypto into the whole AI infra play was very vicious. And I do think that capital needs to get rotated somewhere. And I think it could go back to crypto. So a couple hot takes from the boys, but maybe not even hot, a couple lukewarm takes from the boys, but I love it. Anything else before we let you go? Always a pleasure having you on, dude. I really appreciate it. Anything else before we get into the wrap up?
Yeah, final thing I would say, honestly, is I'm directionally aligned with your perspective there. And we've gotten into such a vicious rotation of liquidity in the space that if you really go back to like 2017, it's just been a compressing timeline on how quickly capital is rotating. Like ICOs, it took on average a couple months for capital to rotate from those. And then at the completely other end of the spectrum, we have pump fund tokens that the average lifespan has, even from the origin of that, has compressed from, I don't know what, to like a minute or two. And so we've kind of scaled this full spectrum of people just playing musical chairs. And I do think it'll rotate far more back to fundamentals. And I do think like Bitcoin hype and privacy I think is becoming like pretty front and center, not just 'cause people care about it, but because institutions know that in order to offer financial services on chain, they can't leak everybody's financial data.
Exactly.
And so I think there's actually positive incentives there.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're gonna build, you know, our own blockchain, but I can see how much money Austin has in his bank account. Like that is just exceptionally dumb. Anyways, what a treat. Appreciate you coming on as always. We'll have to do round 3 again. Always a banger. Please let our listeners know where they can find you personally, and of course Nomina online and on socials.
I'm just Austin King on Twitter, and it's at Nomina, Nomina on Twitter. That's where we're doing basically all of our communications right now.
Did you guys have to pay for that handle, or was that wide open?
I think maybe we paid $1,000 or something. Like X opened up this new marketplace.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we did. I recently migrated to Austin King though, and it was just free. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll take that.
Sick. Wow.
Yeah.
I had someone reach out and ask if I wanted the Matt handle. It was 2.5 milli. I was like,
Oh my
yeah,
God, dude.
probably don't care that much for MATT. Anyways, what a banger with Austin King, founder of Nomina. Always appreciate him coming on. Round 2 was awesome. Can't wait for round 3. Guys, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Go touch some grass, snow. I don't know, mostly snow for us in Austin and I's neck of the woods. Spend some time with the fam. Have a couple chilly ones, have some wine, relax, and enjoy. But still grind when you need to. Love you guys. Appreciate you as always. If you enjoyed this one, please subscribe, hammer the like button. To my team, love you, and to the listeners, appreciate you guys. Keep on tuning in. Thanks for listening as always, and keep on growing those bags and staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Love you guys. See you on the next one. Ciao.